Hey, hi, good night. Good night. I mean, hello.
Is it bedtime already?
I'm ending before even I'm beginning. Welcome to Janine and Amy's Travel Experience Live. And we're here tonight to talk about our favorite topic, travel. And we are absolutely thrilled to have Jill Sala from one of our very favorite travel companies, G Adventures, here to talk about Nepal. So, hi, Jill. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce my fabulous co-host, Amy Kaufman-Rylahan. Hey, Amy.
Hey, guys.
Is Nepal on your heck yeah list?
You bet your sweet patootie it is. Absolutely. And I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
I'll drink to that. So here's cheers to Jill for joining us today. Thank you very, very much. And I'm super duper duper excited to hear about Nepal. I haven't been, so absolutely on my travel bucket list for sure. So
thank
you, Jill, and here's to you. I know you're on the clock, so you can't drink. So we'll drink for you.
Jill has been with G Adventures for 4 years. And she is a self-proclaimed serial traveler, which I think a lot of us in the travel industry can say that as well. She works and lives in Boston, which is one of my very favorite cities. So we're so happy to have you here, Jill.
Thanks.
And before we hop into the questions about Nepal, I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
When this pandemic is over and we're all out in the world again, where are you going to go first?
Whew. So everywhere. I know I can't go there right away. So my first trip is going to be to Chile and Argentina because during this pandemic, I've been drinking a lot of wine. And,
what?
I've really gotten into some South American wines like the Malbecs and stuff. So I figured, you know what? I'm gonna mold my love of drinking wine and hiking in the outdoors. Go to Patagonia and then hit some of the wine regions in Mendoza.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Holy cow.
No, so it'll be a brand new trip for you. And with G Adventures, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Well, of course it will be. I would be surprised if you said something else.
Is there anyone else?
No.
No.
Not at all. So that's fabulous. And yeah, that's a good idea. I haven't decided where I'd like to go yet, but that sounds enticing. So maybe that will be it.
Yeah.
So
I'll go anywhere.
So we're here to talk about Nepal, and I'm so excited that you sent us some pictures to share. So I am going to put them in the stream, and we can talk about your trip and about G Adventures and how that works. So maybe we start at the beginning. Tell us about G Adventures and what's it like, and what's the G Adventures difference?
So we're a pretty cool company. We've been around for 30 years, and we're still privately owned and operated by one man named Bruce Poon-Tip. And 30 years ago, while he was actually trekking in the Himalayas, he dreamt up the idea of G Adventures. And he did that because as he was researching starting a travel company, he realized that so many of these communities, money's not staying in the destination. And when he kind of ran across this statistic that said for every $100 spent in a developing nation, only $5 of that actually stays there, he was horrified. He set out to change the course of travel and decided to start a company where we could completely go in a different direction. And that's by keeping everything local. So, here we are 30 years later with over 500 tours. We've got 10 different travel styles to pick from. And that's what's really cool about us is that, not only we're doing everything on the local level, meaning we're only using locally owned and operated hotels, locally owned and operated transport companies, essentially all components of the tours, including our guides, which we call CEOs, Chief Experience Officers, are all local. Because the company was founded on the premise that money coming into that destination stays there to benefit the communities we travel to. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And, having such a diverse portfolio at G Adventures, like I mentioned, there's 10 different travel styles. So depending on your budget, your interest, your activity level, what you're hoping to get out of the trip, we have a trip from you. If you want to go on a wellness retreat, we can do that. You want to hike Kilimanjaro, we can do that too. And everything in between, including our National Geographic line, is with our collaboration with National Geographic itself. So those are pretty cool experiences that tend to be a little bit more educational. So really cool experiences to pick from.
And each trip has a score, and I can't remember what it's called, that tells you how much goes back into the local community, right?
Absolutely. So we had all of our trips rated, and it's called the Ripple Score, and that's the percentage. And you'll find it on every single trip on our website. It will give you a percentage of the money actually staying in that destination.
Wow.
Pretty cool, because the majority of our trips are, 97% above. So we're really
that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Do you know, do we know as a traveler, is it explained to us during our trip where that money's going? Like who's benefiting, besides obviously it stays in the country, but specifically who?
Well, a lot of the times, a lot of our trips, the people that you'll meet along the ways, you'll have interaction with them. You'll also have interaction sometimes with their families. I can't tell you how many been on 10G trips, and we've ended up in, the guide's home or the guide's grandmother's home or something like that. And you see, or you run into their kids, and you're seeing the direct impact,
That's
that
amazing.
by, bringing tourism and making sure that everybody's looped into the tourism supply chain, right? I mean, we have all these, we don't I hate using the term like go off the beaten path, but we want to bring these communities that are not, directly impacted, like, right on the way to Machu Picchu. Let's take a hard right, go down the road 100 kilometers and visit this family and go to this unique restaurant and pour some tourism dollars into their communities too. And then you can experience that, no one else is getting. So
yeah, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
So I know, because sustainable travel and experiential travel, those are big buzzwords now, but it seems like GM Adventures has been doing it all along. It's not, they've been like ahead of the trend, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
Vanessa McGovern says hello, Jill. She wants to say,
hi, Vanessa.
Hey, Vanessa.
Yeah, to you, Vanessa. Thanks for joining us today, Vanessa. That's like, she's like star power. She's got star power.
That's awesome.
So we're here to talk about specifically about your trip to Nepal, which certainly I have about 1,000 dream trips, but this is certainly one of them. In this first picture, you were in a community. So you want to just tell us what's going on in this picture and what it's about?
Yeah. So partway through the trip, we traveled to this remote little village, and in order to access the lodge that we were staying at, which was absolutely beautiful, you had to go down this massive suspension bridge. And I think I have a picture. I'm not sure if you use that one or not, but there's this huge suspension bridge that you have to pass over. And they said, pack your stuff for one night in an overnight bag. We're not bringing your luggage. It's too much. You got to hike a little ways in to get to this place. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is this going to be? So we're about to go across the suspension bridge, and everyone's, of course, panicking. Some people have a fear of heights. So we essentially had to get one of the travelers drunk in order to get her across. But once we got there, we went to this amazing, I mean, honestly, like I had a couple times, and it's kind of moving a little bit too. And you're like, how do they get supplies? Like, is this safe? All that. So
did you tell her that it was her? Like, it really wasn't moving? It's like, it's you. You think it's moving. Just have a little bit of a buzz on.
Enough. Like, there was at the base of the suspension bridge is this little town. So we had to, we're like, all right, let's get her to calm down. She was about to have a panic attack, have a couple of beers, and some locals overheard us. And of course they're laughing at us, right? So they took out this, it was in a water bottle, and it was just some sort of Nepali spirit, and it was clear. And they're like, no, do it. This'll get you across the bridge. And she did it. And a couple minutes later, she's like, all right, let's go.
I'm ready.
She made it.
It was magic. Magic juice.
You gotta love liquid courage, don't you? Liquid courage. That's what it would take for me, for sure. Vanessa knows that story. Vanessa and I almost perished on a trip together.
Oh my God.
That's amazing. So I'm going to put a new picture in, and how amazing. So talk to me about altitude too. So I'm curious about that, because I can imagine it must be a little bit of a struggle with altitude when you arrive.
There were some people that, altitude affects everyone differently. and you travel quite a bit of the country, like in different locations, while you're on this specific trip in Nepal. So there were some areas where people could feel it was a little hard to breathe. But we never got too high. We took a trek that was like 100 and maybe or 1,000 kilometers or something like that. And so not too bad, not too high, but we always recommend, you talk to your physician before you travel, of course, because it affects everyone differently. It doesn't matter how many times you go to the gym or what kind of shape you're in, it gets everyone differently. So this happens to be a picture of the Annapurnas and going into a flyover of Mount Everest. Now, I didn't take the plane ride to fly over Mount Everest. I don't know. I had a weird feeling. So I said no, but the rest of the girls did. And they just said it was amazing. They had mimosas. They were watching out the window. It was just spectacular. Couldn't have asked for a better day to be able to see.
Oh my God.
Wow. Could they see people? Because people climbing? I think you're still a little too high to be able to see. Actually people
on the mountain. Yeah. But a really cool experience. If you want to do that too, you can add that on in your free time. So do a little flyover.
What kind of plane was it? I'm just kind of curious.
It was small, but not as small as I thought it was going to be. And that's what scared me. That's why I was like, no, but it was 2-seater on each side, and they only allowed people one on each side so everyone could see. And then they would switch people so you could see different vantage points as they were flying around the mountains.
Oh my God. How long was the flight? It was
about an hour.
Holy moly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
That's great.
I was kicking myself at the end for not doing it.
I bet. It's one of those things, right? That I do that on trips where there's like this thing that I'm like, I'm scared, but I'm going to kick myself. I know I am, because everybody's going to come back and tell me how fabulous it was. So I get it.
Sometimes you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
That's as close as I'll ever get to the top of Everest. So. So here's a beautiful picture, and it looks like a temple of some sort.
Yeah. So everywhere in Nepal, Kathmandu, all the little areas, it's very a Buddhist nation, and there's pagodas and stupas and prayer wheels and palaces everywhere. And it's just absolutely phenomenal and fascinating how beautiful these are. This happens to be the World Peace Pagoda that was built by monks. And it's just spectacular. And people go up there and they pray, and it's beautiful, and it's surrounded by the mountains. You've got the Annapurnas in the background.
Oh my goodness.
A beautiful thing with more beautiful meaning behind it. So really
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I saw this and I was interested in this. Is this part of the trip? Did you have a chance to cruise with these fellas?
Yeah. So really cool part of the trip is when we went to Chitwan National Park. So there's part of that area of Nepal is pretty much called the Amazon of Asia, right? Because it's very lush, very tropical. And you wouldn't think that, right? But here we are in Chitwan National Park, which is their oldest national park, and lots of protected species there. And the place that we were staying was this amazing property right on a river. And these fellas pulled up at very, very early in the morning, and we got in the boat, and it was still kind of dark and it was foggy. But we loaded in this boat and we just started down this river. And as the sun started to come up and the fog lifted, you could see all these animals. We saw a rhino.
Wait, hold on. Ready?
Oh,
yeah. Super, super cool. You had to be super quiet because he was really dipped down, but apparently we were all freaking out, and he got up and he moved away. So they're actually an endangered species. So there's very few left in that population there, but the park really pushes to preserve and conserve that species.
Oh, I bet. So this might be a good time to ask, because you were saying that you were staying at a place. How does G Adventures choose the accommodations?
So great question. So it all depends on the travel style you chose. This happened to be one of our National Geographic journeys. So it's technically one of our comfort products. So it's not your typical tourist class accommodation. It's a step up from that. So a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more inclusions, things like that. So this place happened to have a pool and an amazing bar and just beautiful, beautiful surroundings, as you can tell. I mean, we loaded on a boat and went down the river. So it really just depends on which travel style you pick, but they all go through a very stringent vetting process in order to work with us. So they have to employ a certain amount of locals and things like that in order for us to even work with them. So keeping it in the family, as we like to say.
So you could have something that's sort of a little bit more basic, all the way up to a little bit more luxurious, not necessarily luxury, but more comfortable and more amenities and things like that. Sort of the whole range, right?
Exactly. Anything from camping right up to like, a 3.5 star accommodation, 3.5, 4-star accommodation.
Yeah.
So it depends. Yeah. Yeah.
So Vanessa commented that altitude sickness is real. And I agree. I agree with that. So this is a great picture too.
Oh,
so one of the stops along the way is at a Buddhist monastery, and we stayed overnight in the guest houses.
Wow.
And when we got there right in time and this is what they do every night around 7:30 is they debate. And they're all out in this courtyard and they're slapping their hands and they're getting up in each other's faces. But all they're doing is debating about the philosophies of the teachings of Buddha. A couple of times we're like, something's going to go down here. Like, we're like,
throw down.
Grab the guy.
Buddhists are such peaceful people. I mean, it's all about love and
completely off the charts because they're just like, and they're raising their voices and we're like, oh my God, what's happening? But it's a truly friendly debate over the philosophies of the teachings of Buddha. So it was really cool to be able to see that and part of that too. Not to mention to be at this monastery that was just so ornate and so beautiful. They got us up the next morning very early, right before sunrise, because they go to chant, first thing as the sun rises, and all the monks were in there, and we all got to sit in the back, and you can use a camera, but you can't use a flash. And we just listened to their morning prayers, and it was bone chilling. And I'm getting the chills thinking about it now because it's just in this massive, spectacular temple, and the sound that's coming out of the chanting is just over the top amazing. It was just one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Yeah.
So it's not uncomfortable thinking that you're like interfering and they're totally fine with it and they like to have people there. Is that they're probably used to it, right?
They're used to it, but I think it's a way for them. They want to open their world to everyone else and the teachings of Buddha. So it all kind of intertwines and they want you to be a part of it. They're very, very, tight about making sure you're not speaking, you take your shoes off, no flashes, things like that. So, and everyone's so respectful. So super, super highlight of the trip was that monastery and then the sunrise with the monks.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I had a similar experience in Cambodia a couple years ago, and Buddhism changed my life. It truly, truly did in my view on the world, and really opened up so much for me emotionally. Oh my goodness, and spiritually, it was an amazing experience. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's
what a great way of life. It's just beautiful.
It is. Yeah. Very well said, for sure.
So what's this picture? Is that tell me what that is.
Sure. So this is out in, this is Kathmandu, and this is just one of the many temples that you see. No matter where you go, this happens to be a stupa. And what you see all along every stupa and every temple are prayer flags, Nepali prayer flags. So you see them everywhere. It's beautiful. The colors, everything's very ornate with gold. And then of course, like the flags flapping in the breeze, everywhere, the ornateness of, the palaces, the pagodas, it's unreal. And in Kathmandu, they have I think, the largest concentration of world heritage sites.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Do because it's such a small area. But just absolutely beautiful. Everywhere you go, every city, they have their own, their big giant prayer wheels. Just really, really neat. And everyone's walking by and touching them. And that's the prayer. And just really cool and really unique way of life that the Nepalis live.
How many times did you sing the Bob Seger song?
I just was singing it in my head. I'm like, okay, that's going to be an earworm for the rest of
Kathmandu. I can't say Kathmandu without hearing Bob Seger. Anyway, I just digress a little bit.
No, it's totally fine because we were all traveling with a group of women and we were saying cat herdu instead of Kathmandu.
Oh, I like it. That's good.
Yeah.
So how do you get around? How does G get everybody around? Like, do you fly? Do you take private vans or whatever?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. This trip, because it's a Nat Geo Journeys, you do take private transport. So the bus was very comfortable. The infrastructure for roads in Nepal is, well, not that great. So, we all had raging headaches at the end of the trip, but it's completely like it goes away with the scenery that you're seeing along the way. I mean, you're weaving in and out of the mountains. You're seeing lush jungles. You're seeing these amazing little towns and as you're passing by and just seeing kind of life unfold as you go. So private transport, part of the trip back from Pokhara to Kathmandu was on a plane. But the rest of it is, when you're buzzing around the city, you're in tuk-tuks and getting around like locals when you can.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
great.
It's the only way to do it. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of walking and things like that.
Yeah.
When we were in Cambodia, we were taken around on some of our trips by ox.
Oh, wow.
We were on ox-drawn carts. So yeah, it was, and I didn't dress. I wore a dress. I was really silly. I don't know why I wore a dress, but anyway, we were going into temples, so you have to be. Anyway, so that I digress again. So.
So G Adventures also has a really great nonprofit, right? Planetera.
Yeah.
And so, and I guess I'll let you explain it, but what I understand is you go to different places and you work with social enterprises to support those social enterprises. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So Planetera was founded back in 2003, and it's essentially a social enterprise incubator. So we go into these communities and really identify where there's a need and where we can help a local community, as I mentioned before, tap into that tourism supply chain. So this happens to be one of our most amazing projects called the Sisterhood of Survivors in Kathmandu. And another really life-changing experience that sex trafficking and human trafficking is so, so big in India and Nepal. And a lot of the times these women are taken or sold against their will, and sometimes they're taken at a very young age. And if they're lucky enough to escape and get back home, what do they do next, right? They haven't been educated. They have no jobs and or life skills. So an actual attorney decided to create this foundation called Sasane, and he trains women to be paralegals, those who have been sex trafficked. So these women are given skills to be paralegals. They're also given skills if they want to work in the hospitality industry. So hospitality training.
Wow.
Female Sherpa training, which is a rarity. Wow. And most of the Sherpa guides are male. So this Sisterhood of Survivors really kind of helps educate and get these women the education they need to get back out into society. And of course, help other women who are coming back from the sex trafficking industry in India and Nepal. So really cool. And then you get an awesome Nepali cooking lesson where you make the traditional dish, the momo, which is a dumpling.
Ooh.
Which I think this is what this picture is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Holy moly, that looks delicious.
That's amazing.
It didn't look good when I was making them, but it tasted good. And I definitely put my weight with momos while I was in Nepal.
Yeah. Well, dumplings are a skill for sure.
Yeah.
So how long has that organization been around, and how many women do they help every year? Do you know?
You know what? I don't have that figure off top, but I can get that too, because that's really a good question. I'm not sure how many women man, what a great resource for women who have just been through hell in their
I can't even
Right?
imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
It's only grown. It's only grown. So
Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
true. Well, Linda Baggs Donaldson says that's a beautiful story. So thanks, Linda, for stopping by. And if you have any
Thank you,
questions,
Linda. Thank you.
Jill, let us know.
Yeah, drop it in the thing.
So we're getting towards the end of the show. So I guess my final question for you is, if someone wants to go to Nepal, right, and it seems very daunting, clearly G Adventures is a great way to do that because it's a small group. What trip would you suggest? So this was the National Geographic tour, but there's other tours too that people could.
absolutely. So again, depends on if you want something a little bit more active and want to go trekking through the Himalaya or the Annapurnas. We have treks that you can do. I love this itinerary specifically because of the pieces like the monastery. We've got an awesome 10-day Himalaya highlights that kind of covers all the bases. I mean, it really just depends on what kind of adventure that you're looking for. But, everything's that small group. It's that intimate feel. You've got your local guide who knows all the ins and outs that can take you, to the places that you're really not going to find in any tourist guidebooks. And that's what we're really known for, is getting, really underneath the skin of the destination. So yeah, if you want to come join us, we'd love to have you. Don't call me. Call Janine and Amy. But yeah, we hope to see you on a G Adventure soon.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. I do have two questions for you. What does the G in G Adventure stand for?
Well, a long time ago, we used to be called Gap Adventures. Back when the company was first started, but a little tiny clothing retailer didn't like that. So they took us to court and gave them back the A&P. So
right. And that meant meaning like a gap year, right? Like people would go and take your trip during a gap year or something.
Yeah, it was called for people. So now we're just Great Adventures. So, but we just go by G. Everyone knows this is G.
Yeah, I love it. Great. I love it. That's awesome. And then my second question. So the weather in Nepal. So when I was in Cambodia, I have never been more hot in my entire life. It was hot and 100% humidity all the time. Is it the weather similar in Nepal? So when we have clients call us and say, hey, I want to go to Nepal, I want to be able to prep them.
Sure.
Or like I do for Southeast Asia.
Yeah, definitely. So I was there in mid-October, and there were days that were warm, I'd say probably in the 80s, and then days that were cool enough where you could wear long pants and just a t-shirt. So it depends on when you want to go, but October's a great time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Great to know that. Thank you.
Yeah. And G Adventures prepares people for it. Like you get a whole list of what you should bring and what the weather's like, and really does a really good job in terms of helping us, the travel advisors, get our clients there in a good way. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Go before you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, so just so everyone knows, Nepal is just one of many trips offered by G Adventures, but we thought that's such a special place that Jill could come on and talk to us about it. And we really thank you for coming, Jill. This is really so much fun. And oh man, I want to go. Yeah. But before we go, where can people find G Adventures? I mean, I know come talk to us too, but what's their social media handles?
Yeah, check out,
find out more.
Gadventures.com is our website. It's G Adventures on Twitter and Instagram. And then, of course, our Planetara Foundation is planetara.org if you want to check out our 100 projects that we have across the globe. Some pretty inspiring stuff that, not only focuses on women, but empowering youth, really finding new ways for cultures and conserving cultures. And of course, the environment too, protecting that is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, and it's also important. If we want these places to be around for a long time, we have to do our part now to save them, for sure. Well, thank you, Jill, for coming. And thank you for watching tonight, Janine and Amy's Travel Experiences Live.
Thank you, Jill, very, very much. And thanks to all our followers. We're up to 237 followers, Janine, on Facebook.
What?
So that is huge. And we've been at this for 2 weeks. So thank you all so much for the love and the support. We really, really appreciate it. Please invite all your friends and family to follow us as well. We really are having a great time. We love what we do. And Jill, I love having lovely ladies like you, especially, our fellow Bostonians on board as well. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
See ya.